Good morning, everyone. It's Stacy with So Steady, and I am here with Ann Moore. You can see that gorgeous quilt right behind you. There's Ann. We are very, very excited to be kicking off the Flower Power Galaxy class series today. And so Ann is going to go ahead and obviously dive right in. She's got lots to show everybody today. Two full designs that are going to include all of the ruler work and some of the cutaway. Is that right, Ann?
That's correct.
Excellent. We do have 3 giveaways for today as well. So please note that we're going to be sharing some opportunity to win because we love to give away stuff in these virtual events. And then we've got some awesome news. So there has been some chatter already in regards to the class handout versus a pattern. So I wanted to go ahead and address that. We did say the pattern and the video-based class series, but what we actually meant to say in that was class handout. So your digital download class handout is what you're going to get in the terms of an actual paper to follow along with, and I'll show that on the screen here in a little bit. Because this is a video-based class series, it is not going to be something that has a written pattern with it as well. If it was, then the cost of the class would actually be a lot more because there's a lot of time and effort that goes into writing out a pattern as well as teaching it via video. So just keep that in mind, but we are really excited because we've got some great news. We are going to actually extend your ability to watch this class for a whole another, 5 months? Yeah, so originally we were only going to give you 4 weeks to watch the class. Because it's part of a class series, we've decided that we're going to go ahead and have it available to you through July. So now instead of just having these 4 weeks to watch this one class, you're going to have the opportunity to watch it through July. So, if you feel like you need some extra hand holding, or if you just want to go back and keep watching and relearning, you're able to go ahead and do that. And we're going to extend all of those through the end of July because there's actually 5 more classes in this class series. So you want to stay tuned. We're going to give you another opportunity to take today too. You're going to actually be able to, in an email I'm going to be sending after the event, you're going to be able to sign up for the rest of the classes at a discount. So we're now offering an opportunity to sign up for all of the classes. We're going to give you an additional $10 off. So instead of every class being $10, the full class series I think ends up being $10 off. And then we're going to give you another $10 off because you already signed up for the first one. So in all, you're going to get the rest of the classes for about $40. So great opportunity if you definitely think you want to create the whole quilt and do all of the designs that you can do with the Flower Power template set. So I think that's all I wanted to say. I'm going to be here sharing all your questions with Ann. So Ann, I think it's ready. They're ready for you to take it away.
Okay, sounds great. I will talk a little bit about the quilt behind me. I tell you what, let me move this up just a little bit so maybe you can see it a little bit better. We have, I'll give you the names of all of the blocks first. So give me a second to do that. It's so new, I still have to look at the names of all the blocks. My husband and a couple of friends helped me come up with names for these blocks. This is Flower Power Galaxy, the entire quilt is. And how it came about was, let me see if I can slide it over where you can see it. Yeah. See this little block right here? Well, that one's called Flower Power, and this is part of Annie's sampler. Annie's sampler came about around March when COVID started and we shut down so that, we could keep everybody safe. And so this whole quilt came about during that time. And Flower Power was one of the ones in the series. Well, I convinced So Steady that we needed a whole set of rulers for this particular block because it used, I don't know, overall we used about 6 different templates, only about 3 or 4 in here. And so we have the Flower Power ruler template set now, and I'll show you that in a few minutes. But now let's go back over to the Flower Power Galaxy. And we'll talk about the different blocks that make up this quilt. This first one is called Supernova. When I was looking at it and how this came to have a space theme to it is I kept looking at different blocks and thinking, that looks like something from outer space. And when I was a little girl, we were fascinated with the space program. Even got to go watch, I think it was Apollo 11 blast off when I was a little kid. And so I've always been fascinated with the space exploration and things like that. But anyway, these just kind of came along to me and just it looked like it needed like a theme to us to outer space. So this one's Supernova. This one is Orbit. And the reason it got the name Orbit is it has these little pieces out here that I've cut away. And to me, it just looked like it was whirling out into orbit. Right below it, you'll see Starry Nights. There's 9 of them, and I just thought, you know what, that looks like a bunch of flowers in the night. The one below it is called Mandala Eclipse. We'll be working on this one and this one today. And this one, just with the surrounding around it, it just looked like a mandala. So that's where that name came from. Then we have Milky Way. That just kind of reminded me when I look up at the night sky at night and see all of the stars, that's what it reminded me of. This one is called Neptune Nights. The one right above it is called Blast Off. Looks like it has a runway right here, and that's how that got its name. And then we have Butterfly Moon. To me, this looks like a butterfly. So let me step over just a bit and see if I can do this without getting too much in the quilt. This one is Space Station. When I made this square and then cut out the blocks, and then I had these going around it, and this is actually a border, but I chose not to use it as a border. But to me, it just looked like one of the space stations in maybe Star Wars or something like that. So that's how that got its name. This is Flowers in Orbit. There again, I've got the grouping of flowers all around kind of in an orbit. And then this is Galaxy. That's just what it reminded me of. And remember, I had some friends who were quilters help me name these, and also my husband. He's really good at that kind of stuff. And then this one down below, let me see if I can get that. Okay. That one's called Spin Out. It has all of these little lines coming around it. And to me, that just looked like a spin out. So I'm going to move my camera around now and show you how I got started with this. Let me get this up where you can see me instead of seeing my chest. Anyway, okay, so let's move around the corner and I will set up my camera so that you can see exactly how I put all this together. So bear with me just a second while I do that. If you can tell from the quilts behind me, I kind of like really loud, bold colors. So just bear with me on that. Indulge me a little bit. All right, I'm going to turn my camera, so bear with me a second while I do that. Let's see.
I just want to put ahead and put your information on the screen as far as where we will be able to go ahead and get some of the purchasing options for today. So that is going to be on our Flower Power buy page. And so some of the additional items that you might be interested in, we have emailed out to all of you. So take a look at your emails. I'm thinking you probably got a couple from us in the last few days, but this is the page where you're going to get that. And then I will also share with you that handout here in a little bit as well that you should have all received. So looks like Anne's ready to go.
I am. Okay, now these are all of the rulers. Let me grab the Flower Power, the template paperwork that you get with this. This is called Flower Power Block 6-piece template set. And you get 6 templates in this block. And you can use these to create, of course, the Flower Power one. And the one we're going to work on today is kind of a spin-off. We're going to work on two. And this one is kind of a spin-off, but I wanted places where I could actually reveal the fabric that's underneath. And so I chose to actually leave these off and create an open space that I could cut away. So we're going to look at that today. Here are the templates that we have in the set. This is an 8 by 2.5 inch ruler. Everybody needs a straight edge ruler. I think they're very, very important. I use mine all the time. I ditch stitch with it. I use it for straight lines. I do all kinds of things with it. I'm working on a quilt right now for a gift, and it has a lot of straight lines in it. And so this is my go-to ruler for that. Next, we have the 6-inch arc. This is very handy. This is actually what I use to make the flowers, but it also makes a really beautiful arch also, or arc. So that's a 6-inch one. This is the, it looks like a 1-inch circle, but actually because your ruler foot is a 1/2 inch wide, this actually makes a 1/2 inch circle, and I think they're just really, really pretty on a quilt. So we'll be using that. This creates those tiny little flowers that you were seeing on some of my quilts. We have two sizes, a little bitty one, and then one that's about 2.5 inches. So that's very, very handy to this set also. And then this set comes in two parts, actually. And this is, you saw it on the space station a few minutes ago. You also saw it in Blast Off, and you saw it in Milky Way just a couple of minutes ago. So those two, we will not be using these two today, but we will be using them in other parts of the quilt. So you need the whole set when you do this. And I've noticed that whenever I can buy my rulers in an entire set instead of individually, I save money, usually anywhere from $10 to $20 or $30, sometimes depending on what set I'm looking at. So it's always less expensive to do it that way. Another thing you're going to need today is your crosshair ruler. Now I use the big, this is the 12.5 inch 8-point crosshair ruler. It happens to be my favorite. All of the blocks in my quilt are 12.5 inches. So I hate to call myself the lazy quilter because I'm really not, but maybe ingenious might be a better word for it. You know how hard it is to square up a block whenever you're using a ruler that's, say, 6.5 by 24 or something like that. Well, if all my blocks are 12.5 inches, I can use the edges of this ruler to actually square up my blocks. So what I do is, first of all, I would flip my work over, and I've already drawn out the lines for you, but I'm going to show you really quick. And then I was asked to also address how I choose colors and things like that. So we will talk about that also. Now I line up my ruler, and I just kind of, my fabric is cut to 14 inches square. And that gives me a little bit of room to kind of put my hands on it, or have a little wiggle room if I quilt much tighter or something like that. And that way when I'm ready to cut it out, I have a good block that I can cut out and cut away from, and I don't have any edges missing or anything like that. Now I've also used, let me pull this up where you can see it. I just clip my block together, and I'm going to pull it apart in just a second and show you all the different layers. But these great little clips, they're just Wonder clips, and you can pin it if you want to, but I like the Wonder clips. They're kind of out of my way. They also won't stab me whenever I'm moving my work around, and so that's what I use. I've also used a Clover Choco liner. Now they come just like this, and they've got chalk in them. This one's running out. I'll be refilling that one pretty soon. I replaced my chalk with iron off chalk. I like the iron off, but I also like just the regular chalk. chalk. It's, to me, just as easy to get off the regular as it is the iron off. But I wanted to try the iron off, and it does work great. It doesn't come back, and it's really good stuff. I just use an old toothbrush to brush these off with, though, if I'm using the regular chalk. Now, what I do is I would line this up and just kind of center it. I just eyeball it. I don't really try to make sure that everything is perfect around the edges. That looks like I've got a good 1/2 to 3/4 of an inch around it. So I'm happy with that. Now I need all 8 points marked. So I would just do just like this and line it all the way around. I also come around and mark the edge of my block. So I've already done that. So we'll just get that out of the way. Now I need a crosshair right in the middle. So I'm going to just take my marker and my ruler, and I would use it just like this and make just a crosshair. I don't need all 8 points coming to the middle. I only need 4 of them. So now that we have that out of the way, let me show you how I have this layered. This is my top layer of fabric, and I use Wonder Under, and so the underneath side of my fabric looks like this. You can use, if you decide to use Wonder Under, you can use either side, whichever you prefer. I just happen to like both sides, so I use the solid for the top, and then I go to uh, the decorative side, the printed up side, and use it for my back. I also use, this happens to be Wonder Under, but we are coming out with a fusible. They're checking on it right now. That really works great. So hoping that will be out in the next few weeks. And even hearing rumors that they may be putting some block pieces together for you. So check in on that. You may have something that you can use. This one happens to be Wonder Under, but there are a lot of brands out there. Check with your store. I think the one we may be getting might be by Dime, and I've sampled it and I really like it. Okay, now I have a reveal layer of fabric, and unfortunately it's not quite as colorful as the one I used in the initial quilt. I'm getting low on that one and have it ordered, but it's not back in stock yet. But this is just a really pretty fabric that I found, and I thought it would really work great. Okay, my next layer is batting. And a friend of mine gave me a whole bunch of batting. She's a long arm quilter, and so she has all these cut pieces and edges and stuff. So she gave me a huge stack of it. And then here is my back layer, the backing piece. So that's what I have. And I'm
Should
going
we
to
share with them the exciting news that we're talking about having some fabric? Yeah.
Yes, please.
So there is a possibility for the next class that we are going to have kind of a whole fabric colorway opportunity that everyone can join in if you just love what Anne does and you want to do the same thing. So he stays tuned for more information about that. And your screen went black for a sec. So
It did. I'm trying to fix it. I don't know what I did. I touched it.
While it's black, I thought I would go ahead and share with them.
I'm trying to fix it.
Okay. I was just going to share with them the handout that that we have for this class, just because a few people were still saying that they hadn't seen the handout yet. So I thought
I'm going out and coming back in.
Okay, sounds great.
I touched something.
That happens. So I'm going to just kind of scroll through. This is the handout that you should have received when you purchased the class. So it has that YouTube link that you've joined us on here today. It shows that this is part 1 of 6. It has all of the supplies needed on it. and then it has the fabric requirements, the full project needs, and the blocks and how you're going to be layering them. Then if you scroll down, this kind of gets you all of the details about each of the classes. So this is the whole class handout. There is no written pattern. We kind of covered that at the beginning, but I saw we still had a few questions about it. So I wanted to make sure to address that. Because this is a video-based class series, we don't have a written out pattern for it. You know, the class would have actually been a little bit more money if there was a written pattern for it as well. Hey, Anne, right now your video is sideways. So is there any way you can go ahead and...
Yeah, I've got it turned.
There
Okay,
it is.
there we go.
Beautiful.
Isn't that weird? Because I had it turned sideways. Okay, perfect.
Okay, so I will go ahead and have you take it away.
Okay. A lot of people have asked, well, how did I choose my fabric? Well, like I had mentioned earlier, I love a solid fabric. But I wanted something a little bit different maybe also. So one of the things I really like is grunge, and because it's got a really cool side, and it's a 2-for-1 really. You get a solid side and then you get the colorful back side. So this is of course my purple that I've been working with. My husband said, would you please get some other color of fabric? I'm sick of purple, but too bad it's not his quilt. Anyway, this one's a blue that I'm working with, and there again you get the two sides to it. And then I go out and I usually just walk through a store, and when something really jumps out and catches my eye, I will grab it, and if I really like it and it works, then I go back and get the rest of the bolt, or the whole bolt if they have it. This is one I'll be working with on the blue. To me, they just go really, really well together. And so that's how that one came about. And then the one that you're seeing today, let's see if I can tell you what these are in case you do want to duplicate anything. This is a Robert Kaufman. And let's see if I can tell anything. Painterly Petals is what it's called. And I just thought it'd be a really pretty reveal behind the purple or even behind the blue. Here's another really fun one that I found. I caught this summer at a shop, and I should have bought the whole bolt. I did buy 4 or 5 yards, but this one is just really awesome reveal behind like a purple, and really you could use any of these colors. There's blue, there's yellow, there's orange. You could even go behind red, any color that you wanted to. Here's green. That would be pretty behind any color that you would choose. And then of course the one you're seeing in Flower Power Galaxy right now is this one, and it's Lost in Paradise. It's a fabric. It's called Tropical Bliss. And so I don't have a whole lot of it left, but I have a bolt coming. So hopefully you'll see more of it. But that's kind of how I choose what I want to reveal. I get something that's really splashy, that's going to be, it's like, oh, really want to see more. That may not be your forte. You may like muted colors. And I just did one recently. I wish I still had it, but I gave it as a gift. It had kind of a gray for the top, and then it had a really pretty reveal that had muted colors. It had like maroon and green. It was a real soft background to it, and it came out really pretty. So put your fabrics together and see what you think. Anything, the sky's the limit on what you use. So we'll get back to what we were doing, but that's kind of how I choose my fabrics. Okay, we've got this ready to go, and I'm ready to sew. So I've got my machine all set up. It's good to go. The first tool we're going to use is this one right here. Now also the one we're going to work on first, I'm going to sneak ahead and show you. It's going to have a couple of corners in it. Now you can use your big ruler to do that if you want to. This great big one right here. However, if you've got just a small ruler like you would, a cutting ruler, that would work out great. And I hadn't, there it is. Let me grab mine. Okay. This is just a little 3.5-inch cutting ruler that I have. Now you can also use a 6.5 by 12 or anything like that. But I had noticed when I was working on this that my corner squares were 3.5 inches. So to make it easy on me, I just decided to go ahead and use this little ruler right here. And so I marked it. Now, when I'm making my squares, 1/4 inch of this is going to be hidden inside the Quilt as you go seam. So when I did my first one, a couple of my flowers were a little bit off, I would say. So what I did this time was I came back in and I put that 1/4 inch in right here. Just like that. And that way I know this is all going to be covered up. This part out here is actually going to be cut away. So I need a line from point to point right here. I already have one started right here, so let's go ahead and make that one. That's where those really small flowers are going to come in, and I drew a line out here just a couple of minutes ago. And I don't see my little toothbrush I normally use to get those away, or I would get it away from you for you. I'm going to go ahead and mark one more of these though, so we don't have to use the one that has the 2 lines in it. I think that would be easier for you to see if it would be less confusing too if you don't have to look at that. So let's just mark another one. Get my clip and move it. Okay, and then again I want that 1/4 inch. You can also use this ruler if you want to make those 1/4 inch lines. It would work just as well. But this ruler is 2.5 by 8, so I wouldn't use it to mark my corners. Sorry if you hear my dog barking. She's in the backyard, not happy. Okay, so the rulers we'll use for this will be this one. And where's the other one? And this one. Those are the only 2 that we will be using today. Oh, I'm sorry. We'll actually be using this one, the 3rd one. And so let's get started sewing. I'm going to come over to my sewing machine. I'm going to lower my camera a little bit, and we're going to talk about my sewing machine setup. So let me move all this stuff out of the way. Okay, bear with me just a second while I set this up. Lower this where you can see a little better. Sorry, it's going to be a little shaky while I bring this down. Okay, slide it a little bit closer in for you. Okay, and that should get it where you can see it really well. Let me see if I can come around the corner a little bit with this. How about that? Okay, now if you'll notice in front of me, I have a couple of little gadgets that I want to point out to you. These are ruler feet. These are So Steady Westerly ruler feet. This one is already on an ankle. It's like I would use for maybe a Bernina machine. It's got the ankle has a screw in it, and of course I can take this off. We have, this one is a low shank. This one beside it is a high shank ruler, a ruler foot. And then we also have a medium. We have one for a gamble machine. We also have high shank special, and we even have one, a slant needle for a Singer machine. So we've got you fixed up. Some of the machine companies have kind of gotten on board with the idea that ruler work is not going away. We're going to be using it for a while. We all love it. And so they have started making their own ruler feet. And if they do, it's a great idea if you want to go ahead and get one of their ruler feet for your machine. But if you don't, we have you covered and ours work beautifully. There are about 3,000 different machines out there, maybe even a few more, and we can pretty much cover anything, including if you are love the featherweight machines, we have ruler feet that will fit them also. So just want you to know we've got you covered in that field. I'll tell you a little bit about these. Your ruler foot from edge to edge is exactly a 1/2 inch. Let me see if I can get this over here where you can see it better. Okay, sorry, I was looking at my hand instead of the foot. Or you were. I was looking at the foot. It's got a little curve here in the very front so that you can look down inside and see what your needle is doing. I don't, whenever I do free motion work without rulers, I don't even switch feet anymore. I use my ruler foot exclusively because I can see everything that I need to see just with this foot. Okay? When your needle is centered in the middle, and that's where it should be, you may have to adjust, move your needle to the left or the right, maybe one or two positions to make sure that it's positioned up exactly where it needs to be. That's an easy thing to do. Okay, now I'm going to come over here. I've got my machine loaded and ready to go. See if I can bring this in maybe a little bit. Oh, yes, definitely. Okay. I am using a ruler work glider. It's made by So Steady. I happen to like it really, really well. It has a very small circle right here, and it fits just where my ruler foot would actually come down, like that. Um, this covers my feed dogs, and it covers all the workings around here. It also covers, here's where my machine connects to. I have a So Steady insert on this machine setup. Now, you do have to have a flat working surface when you do this kind of work, and some of the tables that fit some of the machines have a curved edge to them. Be very, very careful with those. In fact, I really don't even recommend them because your ruler could actually end up working kind of at a slant, and that might be a little bit dangerous, and it also would not make your ruler work very accurate. So I have a table insert making all of the surface very, very flat. I have a ruler work glider, and this covers up my feed dogs and all of my little seams around in here that need to be covered up to give me a good, smooth working surface. Now, So Steady also has another one, and I'm going to pull this one out and show it to you. This one is called the Ruler Work. It's a grid glider. Bring this under where you can see it a little bit. It has a grid to it. It also has a large opening. Let's see if I can get that where you see. Yeah, a larger opening, and your feed dogs are actually exposed with this one. This one you can use it just as easily with your ruler work if you want to. But I prefer the one with the tiny opening because sometimes I use rulers that have thumbtacks in the back of them. And when that is going on, I don't want that thumbtack to catch on anything that might be the underworkings right in here of my sewing machine. So that's why I use the one with the smaller hole. This one though, I use it when I'm piecing quilts. I love it. It has a nice slick surface to it. My fabric just glides right along and just it makes my piecing go so much easier, especially if I'm doing something like maybe chain piecing, flying eagles or something like that. And so it just makes that a whole lot easier. I use quilting gloves. They're just a personal choice. When I started quilting a few years ago, I noticed that I was grabbing the fabric and trying to hold it with my hands and move it around. And it was a struggle. And at the end of the day, my arms would be really, really tired from doing that. So my instructor used gloves and she told me about gloves. So I've used them ever since. They have a nice rubber tip to them. They're very, very lightweight, and so I can wear them all day long without any discomfort whatsoever. So, also use, and a lot of you ask about these. I love these scissors. This happens to be a Famori brand, but a lot of companies make them. Tooltron makes them, and I can't remember who all else, but they're very popular, so they're easy to find. They have a nice curved edge to them, and I can get right down on top of my fabric and cut threads away, and it makes it just super easy. So we're ready to get started. I've got my quilt square all ready. The first thing I want to do is stop hitting my camera. I'm going to raise this camera just a tiny bit and see if it's a little easier, and maybe I won't bump it quite so much. Okay. Whoops. Try that again. Okay. Let's see if that will work. Okay. That should maybe keep it away from my hands and my fingers. Okay, I'm putting on my gloves, getting ready to quilt. The first thing I want to do with my template that I'm going to use, this is the 6-inch arc. If you will notice, Leonie West is the one who designed these for us, and she kind of thought of everything that we might need. There are a lot of lines on this ruler. And I'll use ruler, and I'll say ruler, I'll say template. I use them interchangeably, so please understand that's what I'm saying. But she has a lot of lines on here for us to follow. Well, I want to make sure that I'm using the lines that, and I want to make sure that I make all of my templates, or all of my flower petals. That's what we're making first, is the flower petals in the middle. So I want to make sure that I'm using the same line over and over and over. Now I have a set of, let's get the ones out so you can see them. These are G-Easy, and they are arrows. Some of those out, and I'm going to just mark a couple of my ruler points with it. These are hot pink. They come in like 3 different colors, and there's about 192 of them on there. So if you get somewhere and your friend needs a couple of them, well, you can loan them out and not be at a loss. I love going to retreats, and we're really big on sharing things. Okay, so I have marked 2 of the lines that I am going to use for my quilting, and that was this line right here. There's another one just like it right here, so you can see it really well. Also, on the back of my ruler, I have stable tape. This is very, very important. This keeps my ruler, if I don't have stable tape, my ruler does this. It slides around really easy. When I flip it over, though, and I have the stable tape, it kind of stays where it's supposed to. And that's what I need it to do. So I'm going to now put my gloves back on and get ready to, I want to bring up my bobbin thread right here. So I'm just going to drop my needle right in the center, right where I made that bullseye, that the 4 lines joined together. Okay, go right back into that hole that I just made. Lower my presser foot. Now I want to line up. Let me make sure you can see this. Okay, I know I've got some lights on the machine. Let's see if I can move that one away. See if that helps. Okay, I know there's a little bit of a glare, and I apologize for that, but the machine has lights on it, and kind of need them. All right, so I'm going to line, here's my line that I drew earlier. I want to stitch right on that line. So I've got a white line here, and I've got my arrow, and I want to line that arrow up right there on that line. I want to hold these threads as I get started. Now I'm going to make about 8 passes to this middle line, or actually 16. So I don't really feel like I need to bury threads on this particular design, so we're not going to. I've got my machine all set up. On some machines, you're going to need to adjust your tension. People ask, well, what about my stitch length? Well, your feed dogs are down, so your hands and the speed of your needle are actually going to determine what your stitch length is. So here we go. I'm going to do 4 tiny stitches in a row. I've already brought my thread up, my bobbin thread. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Those are just 4 tiny stitches, one after the other. They're not on top of each other. I'm going to come all the way around. Okay, now I'm far enough out that I can turn loose of the bobbin thread. I want to put my hands right here. I want to turn this around to where this arrow is pointed straight at me, and I'm ready to just come down. I usually have my machine set on a medium speed.
How are you? I'm sorry.
It's not a race. Okay, I've come to the point right here. Now, I love working on squares. If I were working on a great big quilt, I would not have the luxury of being able to turn this like I am. So that's why I love the Quilt As You Go method, and that's why I used it in Flower Power Galaxy. It's just so much easier to work with a small piece of fabric than a whole quilt. It's doable. It's very doable. I'm working on a couple of them right now. Okay, now I have a spacing gauge, and that's another thing that you're going to need. Turn this around where you can see it. And I want to make sure that I can line up right on that point. So I just used my spacing gauge and I gauged where I need to be. Okay, and I'm ready to start out. That should land me right at that point. Up, there it is. It sure did. Okay, I'm going to line up this one again. And I'm going the opposite way. The reason I do that is so that I don't have quite such a thread buildup right in the center.
There was a question, Anne. Someone was asking if there was any way that you might be able to tilt your camera up a little bit. They're seeing kind of more of the side or the front.
Yeah, pull it toward, let me go ahead and pull it towards me a little more and get it right here. And I'm going to pull it down some.
That's perfect.
Okay, let's see if this works better. How's that?
I love it. That's great.
Okay, that works.
Yeah.
All right, I've reached the white line that I have drawn, and that's my stopping point. So I'm ready to come back down into the center. Use my spacing gauge. Tell you what, I'm going to pull this off. We'll talk about this spacing gauge setup in just a minute, though. Okay, that will put me right in the center. Let's see, you didn't see that. Let's turn it this way a little more. Okay, here's where I'm aiming for, and there's my spacing gauge. Okay, so I'm going to stitch all the way back down. Okay, ready to make another one. Now I want you to notice where I have my hands. Put this down. I put like 2 or 3 fingers on the ruler itself and the other 2 out to the side, and then I have my other hand right here. So let's line this back up again. I have my little white line right here, and I've lined it up on the white line that's underneath that I drew in. So I'm ready to go again. Okay, ready to turn it. Maybe I can slide this out a little bit. That might make it easier for you to see. Okay, and then I'm ready to go back towards the center, line up my line, make sure that use my spacing gauge, make sure I'm going to land right in the middle. There we go. Okay, notice I had my thumb on the edge. That's a good spot for my thumb. Just kind of help me hold that template while I stitch around. Practice this before you actually go to your masterpiece quilt. I make up a bunch of squares and just keep them at my sewing table so that I can grab one and just kind of play a little bit and practice before I actually put it on something. And especially if you're new at this. Okay, I'm almost done. This is the center design that I'm working on right now. Is actually the center design for both of the blocks that we'll be making today. So that's kind of nice that you'll only need one set of rulers and you'll be able to do 2 blocks. Okay, and this one I'm at one of those corner pieces, but you know what? We're going right into it. Always grab my spacing gauge just to make sure I'm lined up. Sometimes we think we know exactly what 1/4 of an inch is, and sometimes it's a little bit off. So I always want to make sure I'm exact. Always land in the middle. You see the design we've got going on so far? Okay, this one's the one that's a little wonky. I actually have 2 lines, so I've got to really watch it and make sure I don't get off on the wrong line. Okay, 2 more, and then we're done with this design. Okay, and remember, you need 2 of these because both blocks start with the same design in the middle. Okay, 1 more. Okay, ready to head back up to the top, and then that design is made. Okay, I'm going to do four tiny stitches right in here, and then I'm going to bring up my bobbin thread and cut my bobbin thread. We don't use our machines, the automatic cutters on our machines. The reason being, if you do, then you may end up with really, really short. Let's see if I can get that up. Yep, it's not going to pull up for me. That's all right. I may have. It did. It cut my bobbin thread. Okay, now I'm ready for my the little flower that's here in the corner. Let me grab a couple of rulers. All right, the first thing I want to do is line up my, let's line a ruler up out here. There's a good straight line right out here. I'm out in what I call no man's land, so I'm not even going to bring up my bobbin thread. It's back here somewhere, and it's not going to be in my way at all. And since I'm coming way out here in no man's land, it's not going to be in the way. I want to make a line all the way up to my flower right here, and then I'm going to come back down on that straight line that I just drew a little while ago. So I'm going to do my 4 tiny stitches, stitch up, stitch back, okay, and then out here in no man's land, let's see if I can turn this around where you can see it really well. I could cut my threads and come back over here and start again, but I'm going to leave about this much of a tail, and then I'm going to have about this much of a tail again. So why bother? I'm just going to go around the edges in no man's land. Come over to the other corner where I need the other straight line. Doesn't matter if I've stitched straight or not, because that's all going to be cut away. Sorry, didn't mean to bump that. Okay, now I want to come just up to the edge of that flower, and I want to stay on this line. So remember, back here I'm exactly 1/4 of an inch away from the edge of my ruler because my needle is perfectly centered, and I want to make sure it's the same way here. So I'm using my spacing gauge and the 1/4 of an inch on the spacing gauge. So I'm going to stitch forward, just until I touch the flower right there, and then I'm going to stitch back. I'm just holding on to my ruler. Let me stop and show you. I have a thumb right here on the edge of my ruler. I have 2 fingers right here. I have this one resting on the edge of my ruler, and then my little finger is just out on the fabric. And that's a pretty good hold on my ruler. Keeps everything going pretty straight. Okay.
Yeah, and I was thinking that we should probably give something away soon.
Oh, I think we should too. That's a great idea.
Okay.
What do you want to give away?
I was thinking we should do something new today. And
Okay.
so, you know, something that I think a lot of folks are going to be using is probably maybe their iPads or their cell phones to be watching this class. And so I thought maybe we should give away one of our cute little smartphone loungers.
I love mine. I have one handy, actually.
Do you? Okay.
Yeah, I keep it over by my sewing machine.
There it is.
One over in a chair, by a chair where I work.
Okay.
This little guy's been a saver for me. I don't know about you ladies, but I'm always laying my phone down, and then I can't find it, and it's usually buried under a piece of fabric, and this stops that.
So I thought we should give away our newest design, which is Keep Calm and Ruler On.
Oh, sure.
We thought it was appropriate for, you know, the year we've had.
Yeah.
So that is going to be our first giveaway today, our smartphone lounger, and I'll post a link to that as well. But definitely consider that as something that you might enjoy having as you're watching this tutorial and over, you know, hopefully through July.
Great gift. Thanks for doing that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, my mom has one. She was always losing her phone. Hers sits over on her kitchen bar. And of course, all my friends now have them because whenever I take gifts to retreats, things like that are what I love to take. And they all, I noticed them using theirs too. Okay, now I'm ready to make that flower in the corner. And remember, I only drew 4 lines, but I'm making an 8-point flower. But I'll show you how I'm going to do that. Whenever you are bringing your ruler in, oh, and I need the big end, not the little one. Oops, let me raise my needle. Okay, always drop your presser foot in the middle of the opening. Don't drop it over at the edge. The reason I say that is because some machines think they're supposed to go all the way down, and they're going to try to force their way through the acrylic, and that can damage your machine. Probably would break a needle. It's just a dangerous situation. So I've just always made it a habit of dropping my presser foot, my ruler foot, right in the middle of the opening. Okay, so now I'm ready to make that flower. Remember, it's going to be an 8-point flower. Put my glasses on. I'm getting old here. Okay, I've lined up my ruler. I've put it in the center where that crosshair is, and I am lining up. See if I can show you this. Here's my straight line that I drew. Here is the straight line on the ruler. Also wanted to show you too, there are lines back here too. See this one right here? And I can line that up perfectly right here. And that just helps me keep everything straight and gives me a nice, perfect little flower, which is what I'm looking for. I'm going to do my 4 tiny stitches, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I'm going to stitch around. Now, I'm going to cut my threads again because I'm coming back to the center about 16 times. I'm going to reach back here with my scissors and cut the thread that's back there and get it out of my way. Now, if you'll notice, while I was doing that, I kept my one hand on my ruler. The reason I do that is because I don't want my ruler to shift. If it shifts, then I may get an uneven flower, and I don't want that. Okay, now I'm going to go turn it behind me. Let's see, let's turn this around. Boy, that's a great gift they're giving you. I love my phone keeper. I'd be using it today, but then you wouldn't be able to see what I'm doing. Okay, I have 2 petals. Shift this around. I love being able to shift this around. Okay. Okay, that's 3 of the petals. Okay, here comes the 4th one. Okay, now here are the 4 that I don't have lines for. All I do is kind of just, there's a line right here, there's a line right here. I just kind of make sure that those look like they're even, and it looks like they're going to be fairly even inside the petal too. So here I go. And if they're slightly off, it's okay. Don't tell anybody. They'll never know. Nope, that one came out pretty even. Looks like I need to get right back in the center though, so I took a couple of stitches.
You know, there was a question a little bit ago in regards
Sure.
to the petals.
Uh-huh.
Jean Hart had a question as it related to the 1/4-inch markings, and
Mhm.
the 1/4-inch marking was going to be on the inside of the square that you drew. I believe that that was the question, Jean. You can reiterate it if I'm wrong there.
Okay, the reason I did that is because this part in here is going to be covered up by my Quilt As You Go fabric. So this is going to be hidden inside a seam. If I didn't go ahead and line up my flower like I did, then my flower was going to be shifted slightly off. So that's why I do that. And you only need it on those edges that are actually going to be covered up by your quilt as you go seams.
Okay,
You
excellent.
don't want them on the inside. I hope
Yeah.
that makes sense.
And then someone was asking a little bit ago, how do they enter and to be part of the giveaway? And if you're here today and you signed up for the class, then you are automatically in the giveaway. So that's the good news.
We do love our giveaways, don't we?
We do. And then we are going to announce the winners via email. So stay tuned for that email and just finding out if you're the winner of that.
Okay, I have completed a flower, and I am not going to attempt to pull. Well, I can pull my bobbin thread up. Let's see if this machine will let me. Oh, probably not. Anyway, it was acting like it didn't want to pull it up a while ago, so we just won't go there. Okay, there's my finished flower, and it does look like it's a little off center, but remember, this is going to be covered up right here. Let me just move that finger out of the way. This little edge will be covered up by the fabric that joins our squares. So that's how that comes about. Now, I'm going to do one more on this one, and then I'm going to switch. I tell you what, I'm going to go ahead and switch to another one of my blocks. I did go ahead and prepare some in advance. That way we could go along a lot faster. Okay, so I have two of the flowers already in place, and I'm ready. Remember that little arc that we talked about that we actually cut away? Well, I want to show you how I make that. So I'm going to come out here and drop my presser foot. I want my arc to be right on the edge of this stitch line. So you can just barely see my stitch line. I hope you can. Let's see if I can turn it even more. Let me pull it closer up for you. Okay, you see my stitched edge and the edge of my ruler. I want those just barely on top of each other, and I want to bring up my bobbin thread right here on the edge of that flower. So let's do that. Oh, there it is. Okay, slip my glove back on.
Okay, and someone was just asking, should they be nesting our threads or cutting them like you're doing?
Okay, the ones that, and that's a great question. The ones that are going to be in a center like this, I cut them. These will actually be buried because they're going to be right on an edge, and they're not going to be nested or not going to be cut away because it would show. Now, also too, if you're using, and I do recommend that you start with this, especially if you're a beginner. I'm using a contrasting thread so that you can see my work. If you're a beginner, I recommend that you use a thread that matches your fabrics. And that way, if you decide you want to do the 4 tiny stitches and bury them, it's not going to be as, I'm sorry, 4 tiny stitches and cut them. It's not going to be as obvious as if you did, as if you, if you buried them. It's up to you though. But on this particular piece right here, this will be buried because if I do 4 tiny stitches in a row out here, it's going to show, and I don't want it to. But it's only because I'm using a contrasting thread. So that's how that comes about. Okay, so I'm ready to do my stitches, and I don't need to do my 4 tiny stitches because that one's going to be buried. So I'm going to just stitch. I've lined that one up. I'm going to stitch all the way over to the other square. And stop. Now, I have 2 rows of stitches right here, which is great. I'm going to add, for a little ways, a 3rd row of stitches. but it's not going to be noticeable because I already have the 2 rows in there. Now let's see how far down I want to go. I'm going to line up kind of right here in the middle, and let's see, here's 1/4 of an inch, here's another 1/4 of an inch. But if you'll notice, let me see if I can get it out here where you can see it. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Okay, right in the very center, these are exactly 1/4 of an inch apart. But because it's an arc, they're not exactly 1/4 of an inch apart as you get towards the edge. So even though I'm looking at 1/4 of an inch, I'm not having a true 1/4 of an inch on the edge. Let me go down maybe 1 more stitch. So I'm going down maybe a half, looks like maybe a 1/2 an inch. But remember, it's not really a true 1/2 an inch because I've got my ruler foot in the way and several things. You'll see in just a moment how this all measures out. So I'm looking. Okay, I'm liking that. Okay, now I'm going to put I've got 4 fingers on this and my thumb out here. And I'm going to stitch backwards. You can also stitch towards you. I'm just showing you, you can go this way. It doesn't matter. I'm hugging my ruler as I come around. I'm going to stop as soon as I touch that row of stitches. Okay, look at the arch I came up with. It's about equal distance on both ends, but if you'll notice right here in the middle, it's probably 3/4 of an inch. 1/2 inch on the edges, 3/4 of an inch in the middle. And that's exactly what I wanted. So I'm ready to bring up my needle. And let's see if I can bring up my bobbin thread from underneath, because I would bury all of my threads from underneath. Oh yeah, there's my bobbin thread right there. Okay, I'm going to reach back behind this and just snip it. Well, there we go. And then pull my bobbin thread up.
Okay, so we had a couple questions come in. Someone
Sure.
asked what kind of thread you're using.
Okay, I use a 40 weight thread. This happens to be Isacord. I have a lot of favorite threads. Isacord is one of them. I look for a quality thread, and I like this is one that's easily accessible for me because my fabric store here in my town carries that brand, and I like it really well. Another one would be Superior Threads, Glide. As long as it's a good quality thread, go for it. Um, there's some out there, and I always kind of watch too and make sure that I don't have a real fuzzy thread, because that lints up your machine. And this one's polyester, so of course it's not really going to lint up my machine. Now what you see me doing is making a tiny little knot right there. I hope you were able to see that. And then I've got a needle that has, let me see if I can bring a set of these. Oh, I do. These are self-threading needles. They're by Clover. They're on our website, and they have an opening in the top. I think it's easier if you look at these. If you'll see at the very top, it has an opening, and you force your thread down through it, and then you can just bury your threads with it. So I'm going to do that really quick on one of these. All right, and see, I have it on here. It slides up and down. Now, you don't have to go very far. Let's see, I've got that in front of me. Okay. Now, remember, I'm going to reveal right in here. So I don't want that thread buried in there. I want it buried out here somewhere. And I don't have to go very far, just far enough that I can get that knot inside my quilting. And what I try to do is make sure that knot is actually kind of in the middle of maybe my batting. So there we go. There's a perfectly hidden piece of thread. So easy, easy, easy. You can see that design then. And let me see if I can, I will actually bury the other one later.
Someone was asking why you put the straight lines around the small flowers.
I want to box those in so that I have something to stop at, and it just gives it a little bit of definition. When you're looking at this, actually, I didn't quilt inside here, but I revealed my flower. I quilted inside here and I reveal this piece. So it just gives it some more interest if I do it that way. Now I'm going to show you, let's see, okay. I'm going to show you kind of how I would decorate this one, and then we'll get started on our other block. Both blocks are decorated very similar. So I'll just show you on one and we won't have to show you on the other than I'll show you where it actually goes. Now, when you get your printout showing the supply list, on the front of the printout, you also get a picture of the quilt, and it's going to show you in detail where you need to put your definition and your decoration. Now, this is a part right in here that I would cut away. So I want to do some quilting out in here, just some free motion. I'm going to free motion out here, and here's how I determine where I want to free motion and where I want to cut away. I could cut away this entire area and it would be really, really pretty, and it's your choice. If you cut this away, then leave this solid or leave it, maybe do your free motion quilting in it. I chose to cut this away and free motion quilt here. This is a bigger area to free motion quilt in, so it was kind of one of those, what was I thinking? But I just kind of had some ideas of how I wanted to decorate. Now I'm cutting away in here, so I'm going to do free motion out in here. I wanted to leave some areas that are not quilted, so I'm leaving this as unquilted, and it will be solid. It won't be cut away. I will cut away inside these little flowers. And that's how I come up with an idea of, where I want what. I like to kind of skip a space. You want some solid places left so that you can, you don't want the whole thing just quilted, quilted, quilted. You want some solid places left. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to show you how I do pebbles, and I call these pebbles because they're not circles. Circles are perfectly round. And let's see if I get this to come up. There we go. My circle. This is a circle. Now, in one of my other designs, I used a circle right here in the very middle. In fact, that's when you see Mandala Eclipse, I put a circle in there. But this is all just pure free motion in here. So I'm going to show you just a couple of how I do that. And then we'll move on to, I do stippling. And I'll show you how to do that. And I'm surprised a lot of people say they don't know how to stipple. And it's one of the first things that I learned. But I have a little method that I use. Now I do on the pebbles too. Think of a pebble as a figure 8. I'm just doing figure 8s in here. And I'm a little messy with it. That's okay. I don't care. That's just part of it. Throw a great big one in there every now and then. That one wasn't very big. Let's put another bigger one in. Reach out, touch some of these edges. Go back to little ones. Okay, I'm going to come over to the edge and then I'm going to stop and I'll move to something else. Okay, let's say I have an area that's, you can't see it, but I can. Right here, it's not really big enough for a pebble. It is, but we're going to pretend like it's not. I want to put a half pebble in. So all I do is make a half circle. Okay, now I'm going to make a couple of pebbles to get far enough away that I can show you that. all I want to do is get my needle out of the way. Okay, you see the little half pebble right there? When you work yourself up to an edge, that's a perfect spot for just a little half pebble. Okay, so hopefully you get the idea of how to do that. I recommend that you get a drawing board, like a dry erase board, and you just sit. I do this in the evenings when I was learning how to do this. I would sit and watch TV and make figure eights, and all I do would be like this and then come back down. And if I had my dry erase board in front of me, I'd show you that. Okay, I'm going to pull this away. And I'm going to start on the stippling. And I'll have a fun little method of how I do stippling. So I'll talk to you about that. When I learned to stipple, let's see if I have a piece of paper handy. Yeah, I do. Grab one of these. When I stipple, I think of E's and N's and gingerbread men. Now I'll show you what I mean by that.
So while you're working on that, I was going to suggest that we could announce our next giveaway.
Oh, let's do. That's a great idea.
So you're kind of getting out like this drawing side, and I was thinking that maybe our next giveaway we should do our echo guides, our ruler foot echo guides, and our ruler stickers.
Okay.
And maybe even one of our Quilters Creative pens.
That's a great idea. I love that. Yeah, I have the whole set, and I very many times will draw out an entire block on paper before I actually get to quilting it. The reason I do that is fabric is anywhere from $10 a yard to maybe $15. I bought some the other day and I paid $20 a yard for it. So think about things like that and draw out your pattern so that you save a little bit of money. Okay.
So I just put the echo guides on the screen, and I can share a little bit what the other two items are. But the ruler stickers, I think you've shared a couple of times throughout so far today. Yeah, and then of course the Quilters Creative pens as well, which is just a little drawing pen you can use on your acrylic surface and wipe it away to kind of draw it out if you don't have a sheet of paper handy.
Yeah. And then next time I'll have my dry erase board handy, but I don't today. Okay, so when I think of an E, I would think of something like this. I know it's an S, but to me it's an E. Okay, and here's my N. Okay, and then here's a gingerbread man. And obviously you're not going to have the whole gingerbread man in there because, you know, we can't do that. Here's an N going backwards. Here's an E. An N. Okay, here's a gingerbread man, a little bit of one. But you get the idea. I mean, that's stippling. That's all there is to it. Also, we have stippling templates. They're a larger design than what I have just drawn on here, but I heard a rumor that they might be working on some smaller ones. So I hope they are. That would be way cool. But really, stippling is easy. So let's go ahead and do stippling. Now I'm going to start out here on the edge, so I'm not burying stitches. I'm not burying threads. I'm just going to come up on this line right here, and then I'm going to start. Here's an E. And you determine how big you want your stippling to be. Here's an N. Okay, here's an arm maybe of a gingerbread man. Okay, here's another E. Okay, and I'm just going to run this into the edge. Anytime I start and stop, I want to come over here maybe to a line or come off right here. You don't want to just stop in the very middle of your work. But I think that's enough to kind of show you what to do. And if you have other ideas of what you would like to have in your free motion areas, tell us about it. We'd love to hear and see what you decide you want to do. So there you go. There are some pebbles right here, and then some free motion quilting right there. And then we're ready to go ahead and start on our other block. So I'm going to pull this away.
Okay, show us the whole block really quick if you can.
Oh, sure, absolutely. Okay, now this one is the one we just worked on. So of course it has a lot of threads and things, but I'm going to pull a block out and show it to you. So bear with me a second. I'll grab it. It's actually one I've started cutting on. So you get to see that. It's not finished yet, but I think you will like it. You raise this up.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, see? And you can see there's nothing to this. They're very, very simple designs. They look complicated because you've stacked them together and you've done several different designs, but they're not complicated.
And then you might speak to the cutting plan a little bit. Would you recommend that they just kind of use the images as a guide to cutting, or are you encouraging them to kind of make it their own with different cutting ways?
I would love to see them make it their own, but of course I have guidelines in place if you want to use them. But if you see something you think would be way fun to cut away, go for it. Okay, I've got the scissors that I use, and sorry, I take them with me to retreat. So, yep, they're got my needles on them. And here's what I do to cut those away. Let me find.
Can you pull the camera up just a little bit? It's
And
really close now.
how's that?
And that's great. I think we'll be able to see everything you're doing.
Okay, now to cut this one away, I'm going to start with one of the little bitty ones. Let me grab. I use a seam ripper to pull up the fabric and just a little bit. And I want to, because remember, I've got a reveal fabric underneath. I sure don't want to cut into that. If you do, though, because it's going to happen, it's not a matter of if, it's really kind of a matter of when. What I do is I'll either use a permanent glue and glue it back down, or I'll do some stitching in its place. Okay, now I'm pulling up the top of the fabric, just the upper level, and I've got like 2 or 3 threads that I just kind of cut away. Now I feel like all I've got is just the top fabric. So I'm going to go ahead and just make a little opening right there. Now I prefer, these are Karen K. Buckley scissors. They have a nice serrated edge on them. I don't know if that's something you can see or not. Probably not. But any serrated scissors that you are comfortable with probably will work just fine. Check with your store. They always carry great brands also. Now I'm going to push my tip of my scissors in there, and I'm just going to start kind of cutting. I'm about, I don't know, what is that, about a 1/16 of an inch away from the edge. When I'm completely through with all of my cutaway, then I'm going to come back in and I'm going to iron this and reattach all of my, remember I have a fusible underneath. I'm going to reattach the fusible, or not reattach, but attach the fusible. I'm trying to keep my hands where you can see what I'm doing. And I'm still just cutting like a quarter, about a 1/16 of an inch away to make sure I remember where the camera is here. Okay. Okay, and there we go. And that's all there is to it. Now, if you are going to use this quilt a lot, if you're planning on it being washed a few times, it's a couple of things I recommend. Don't cut quite as narrow as I have cut. This will be intended for a wall hanging, so I can cut a little bit closer. But if I were going to use it a lot, I would cut it maybe 1/8 of an inch wide or something like that, maybe even 1/4 of an inch, whatever you use. But remember, these are pretty small, so 1/4 of an inch would just barely be a little slit in there. And then, of course, I cut away this here, and I cut away in here. I wanted just a few places in here, but the more you cut away, the more of your inside fabric that your reveal fabric, the more you show of your reveal fabric. So take it and have fun with it, and show us what you do. You know about Westerly by Me, or if you don't, you need to. It's a website. It's on Facebook, and it's not a website, it's Facebook. And you can post pictures of your work on there, and we love to go in and see what you've done. So please post pictures and let us see what you're doing. Okay, now if you're ready, we'll go to the other block. Grab it. Okay, now move this out of the way. Now, the other block is called Mandala Eclipse, and it is remember, the center is the same. How we did something a little bit different on it is I used that 1/2 inch circle and made circles on it. Now, I don't really want to bury my threads on these, so what I did was I went around the circle 2 times, and then I moved to the next one. So we're going to do that really quick. And let me find it. There we
Someone
go.
was asking where the fusible is in your layers.
Oh, perfect. Good question. It is on the back side of my top fabric. And I'm sorry I didn't point that out to you earlier, but this is my fusible right here. You iron it to the back side of your top fabric first. Follow the instructions that are on the label of the fusible. There'll be different instructions for different fusibles. Okay? And then you do not iron it. Make sure you don't iron it again until you're completely through cutting, because I've made the mistake of deciding after I'd ironed it that I wanted to cut away a little bit more, and it's really hard to do. So don't do that. Make sure you're completely finished and ready to square up your block before you ever start pressing it to the other piece of fabric. Okay. All right. So I want to determine where I want to put this. Now I already have one of them on here. So let's see where I lined it up. Okay. I came in about 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, about an inch inside. So remember, I've got all these wonderful lines. Leonie thought of everything when she designed these for us. So if I want to come an inch in on this one, I'm going to line this up. I'm going to go 1, there's my point. So 1, 2, 3, that's not going to get me far enough. I need to come in a little further. No, I don't. I'm good. Okay, just make sure, and you don't even have to make sure. If you want your circles to be in different places on your flower petals, go for it. I think that would be really cute. I can't wait to look at your blocks and see what you've done. And if you want 2 or 3 circles inside each flower, or you want to line them up in a row, do it. Have fun with this. You don't have to create exactly what I've created. Uh, just go out there and, as ideas come to you, make it your own. I can't wait to see what you do. It'll be fun. Okay, so I'm ready. Let me move this over a little bit, get back in line with my needle on my machine. Okay. Stacy, can y'all see that okay?
Looks great.
Okay. All right. Remember, I want to drop my presser foot in the middle of the template, and then I want to line everything up. And I'm looking at all the lines that she's drawn. I have a straight line right here, and I'm lining it up with the straight line that I have on my fabric. And then she has all these little lines out here too. And these are actually used if you do, say, Annie's sampler. I'll show you how to do that. Whoops. bad about doing that. This machine brings the presser foot up just a tiny bit, and I look at it and think it's not, that it's not all the way down, and it actually is. Okay, bringing up my bobbin thread, and remember, I don't want to bury this bobbin thread. There's my bobbin thread. Let's bring that up. There we go. Okay. All right. All right. Now I need to hold my tails, and remember, I'm going to cut them, so I can go ahead and circle around this twice and then come back and cut everything. Making sure everything's lined up. Looks like it is. Just come around and making a tiny circle. Now I want to kind of pull these out of the way so that I don't run over them again. Let's do that. There we go. Okay. Okay, and then I run just a little ways past the circle. Go ahead and raise my needle, raise my presser foot, pull this all back out of the way. Okay, now remember those two threads in the beginning. I can cut those and get them out of my way. Let's see if this is going to let me pull up my bobbin thread. Yeah, looks like it did. Snip that, and there's my, it's cut. Okay, so that's easy to do. And then you would do those all the way around, all 8 of them. I think we've got time. I can show you one more before we start on the other work. Okay, so I'm going to line this up again, same thing. Drop my presser foot in the middle, slide it to the back of my ruler, needle down, needle up, bring up my bobbin thread. And it helps if I bring up my, to bring up my bobbin thread, it helps if I have my ruler foot disengaged. Only because it's holding a tension.
Someone was just asking if the tail is above or below the foot.
I like my tail to be above. I'm sorry, below my foot. I'm not thinking. All right. Now I'm ready to make my second one. To me, it's just easier, and it's even great if it can be under the template. Okay, I go a few stitches past. Raise my needle, raise my presser foot. And on some of the machines, you need to raise your needle before you raise your presser foot because it will interfere and it will kind of jam a little bit. So I always try to get in the habit of just raising that needle before I do anything else. Okay, and it looks like it's not cut. Let me do that. Okay, so there's 3 of my circles. Now, this one also, this is the Mandala Eclipse, and so it has kind of an eclipse area around it. So we're going to work on that. Sorry if you're hearing my dog. She's not getting to go on trips around the neighborhood, and she's not happy about that. All right, I'm going to start over here on the fresh side so you can see how I started this. Okay, first thing I want to do is bring my needle down and bring up my, okay, what I'm doing is getting ready to do the bands that are this. So I'm bringing my needle down and needle back up in that point and bringing up my bobbin thread. Okay, then I want to be right in that point. I want to drop my presser foot and I want to bring my ruler up to it. Now I have arrows on here. I don't need them, so let's go ahead and pull those and get them out of the way so you're not looking at them. Oh, I can get them. Here we go. Now these are restick, very easy, so if you want to just put them somewhere and reuse them. You sure can. Okay, now I don't really need any lines. I have a couple that I can use though. Here's my center line right here, and that's always kind of handy to have. But all I'm really interested in is making sure that I land on this point right here. Can you see that point? Let's see if I can bring this in a little closer. Okay, I'm 1/4 of an inch away with my ruler from that point, which means my presser foot, of course, is 1/4 of an inch away, and that's what I'm looking for. I want to land on that point. So I'm going to do this without my gloves, but not for long. Okay, I'll do 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I'm going to stitch around and land on top of that point. Okay, put my gloves on. And I only did that without my gloves because I already had it lined up. I like my gloves. They have the nice rubber tips on them and they help me hold everything. And I don't know about you ladies and men, but because I do have men for students too, my hands don't hold as good as they used to. I can't tell you how many times I've dropped a glass of tea. I caught the edge of the counter with my glass of tea and it just slips right out of my hands. Okay, line up every time. Here I am 1/4 of an inch away. And it looks like it may have slipped a little bit, so all I want to do is reposition my ruler. I still have it butted up against the edge over here, right there, but I'm repositioning because I felt like it slipped. Nobody's going to know that but me and you. It will not affect the overall quilt. Okay, there we go. Yeah, I straightened it back up. Now I'm coming into one that I had done recently. So this is great. This is going to show you how to join the two. Oops, I came into no, I didn't. Yeah, what did I do? I came in too short on that one. Or did I? No, I came in where I was supposed to. Okay, let's pull this up. Well, that's weird. Okay, I see what I did. Ha ha. Okay, good. Y'all get to see a mistake, and I will show you how to correct that. What I did, and you're going to have this happen to you, so I'm glad it happened so I can show you how to fix this. What I did was I came in from edge to edge, but I, for some reason, had, oh, I know what I had done. I really made a big boo-boo. Okay, here's what I did. I went ahead and outlined all of these, and I did not outline the one I just did a few minutes ago. So you see, let me see if I can spin this around so you can see it. I'm glad I did that so you can see. Now, if I had not already done this, I could have gone ahead and just gone right on with this, and I'll show you what I mean. I would have, let's come back over here. I would have just lined up my ruler right here. That's what I get for not watching what I was doing. Shame on me. Hate it when that happens, but it does happen. But you know what? You can create a new design from it when you do. But I'm going to show you both. Let's see if we can bring this up. My bobbin thread's not wanting to come up. Okay, so we're just going to do it without pulling up bobbin thread. All right. So we'll pretend like I've pulled up my bobbin thread, even though I haven't, because it doesn't want to come up. Okay, and then I'm going to do stitches all the way around. I'm doing a 1/4 of an inch echo. Okay, looks like I need to line up again. And all I'm doing is the stitch line that's underneath, that's where I have butted up my ruler. So let's keep going.
And someone was wanting to clarify, are you doing the Mandala Eclipse block right now or the Orbit block?
I am doing the Mandala Eclipse, and I made a mistake, so I'm going to show them what it would look like if I just continued with the mistake instead of ripping it out.
And you started with the Orbit block?
Correct. Let's see, I'm working on Mandala Eclipse, and I started with Orbit. Yes.
Okay, great.
Okay, so I'm going to show them, because if you make a mistake, turn your mistake into a design. Don't worry about it. Now, obviously, some of this I will have to rip out later on because I have 2 different designs going on, but that's okay. So I'm going to show you what this would look like, and then we'll go back and do the correct one. I'm glad that happened. That way I can show you, because it's not a matter of when, it's just a matter of, or not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. Okay, so I have a design going on over here, but what I originally intended was for it to look like this. So I'm going to show you how I did that also. And then you've got 2 designs to pick from. Now, all I wanted to do originally, and like I said, I wasn't paying close enough attention. It happens, doesn't it? So all I want to do is bring this up here. Oh, there's my bobbin thread. It came up that time. Good. Okay, the first thing you need to do is echo your flower that you had put in here originally. So all I'm going to do is take the edge, and here's my stitching right here, and I put my template on top of that. I'm holding my stitches. Do 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm going to stop as soon as my presser foot touches the edge of my stitching. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing again. Okay. Okay, and then I'm getting into the part that I messed up. So let's go ahead and go back to the one behind me. All right. All right, we'll pretend like we've gone all the way around. Okay, now all I want to do is match up my seams. Or match up, yeah, there we go. Okay, so I want to land right here. So let's do that. Using one hand to kind of guide my fabric and the other hand to hold my ruler. Okay, and then I would do 4 tiny stitches right here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I want to do something I call a jump stitch. I want to lift my presser foot, lift my needle, or needle first and then presser foot, and jump over to where I want to start again. And you'll see there's a little bit of a thread right here that's connected. Well, I'm going to do my 4 tiny stitches in a row. So I'm actually going to be cutting that thread. So I've butted my ruler up right here. I'm going to do 4 tiny stitches in a row because that's going to be a thread I'm going to cut, remember? Okay, go right here. And as you saw me stop and adjust my ruler just a little bit because I needed to do that. Okay. Now I've got 2 different designs going here, so I'm going to show you those. And then, of course, I'll have to figure out which one I want to do. All right, so let me cut some threads here so you can see the complete design. All right, and remember, here's my jump thread right here. I want to cut that one. Okay, so here are my two different designs that I had going on. This one has an echo right in here, and that's my favorite way. But remember, I forgot I needed to do that echo. So here it is without the echo. So you can take your pick. The only other thing I did out here was I just here and there, and I did it extremely random. I came in and put circles in on the outer edge. So let me grab that one and bring over one that's pretty much finished with the exception of the decorative stitching that I put in. So can you see that? That's a completed one, and that's what it should look like. And I went in with my circles, and they're very, very random. There's no order to them at all. I also have all of my circles in up here, and then I chose on this one to cut away these again and leave this whole piece revealed, and then or a whole piece covered up, and then I revealed here. So let's work on some of that a little bit. You already know how to do stippling, and that's what I used on the outside edge here. So let's pull some of this away and let you see what that looks like. First thing I'd want to do is maybe one of these outer pieces. This is a little bit too skinny to cut away. You can do it, and you're going to have a really tiny line of cutaway, and it would look fine. But if you decide you wanted to cut this away, I would come out a little bit and make this a 1/2 inch echo instead of a 1/4 inch echo. And I've seen that done, and it looks really, really nice. And in some of the other blocks that we'll be doing that. Okay, so this is one I want to reveal. So I want to really focus on the reveal for you guys, because I want you to be really careful when you do this. You get this where you can see it. Probably the first thing I do is reach in there. Oh, and I can see a little bit of metal from my ruler. I mean, from my seam ripper. So I know that I'm in that top, just the top layer only. So cut some of that away, and I can look under there, and I'm not seeing white, I'm seeing a dark color, so I know I'm good. Now, also I cut away one of these. So let's cut that away too. And that way you can see the reveal on both of these. Stacy, do we have any questions?
Yeah, we do. And then I thought we should do one last giveaway, and I wanted to make a correction on it, the last giveaway. So questions that have come in. Number one, people would love if you could just maybe do a recap on each of the blocks and how you designed it step by step, like using this template, and then you moved over and you did this template. So just kind of a recap of how you created each of those blocks.
That's a great
at the end
idea.
would be awesome.
Okay.
And then another person was asking, in regards to the fray check, if you don't have that, is there, you know, something that you might do to make sure you're not, you know, you eliminate or can keep the fray from happening on the ends?
Well, yeah, you could use fray check, but what I have found is, and I'm hoping we roll this out very soon, the dime fusible, it was amazing. Stacy, if you don't mind, I'm going to show them my little sample.
Oh, sure.
Of what I did. Okay, typically I've been using Wonder Under because that's what I had easily available to me. And then Stacy, So Steady sent me some dime, DIME, and I tried them both out yesterday. and I cut them away, and then I put them in the washer, and then 10 minutes in the dryer, and I just put them on gentle. But this is the Wonder Under, and you can see it has peeled itself away. Now, both of these were ironed down before I went to the washing machine. So this one has peeled up. It's not frayed very bad though. It would still be fine. That wouldn't bother me. But look at this one. This is the dime. It's not pulled away anywhere. They were both ironed at the same time with the same iron on the same temperature, but it's not pulled away. I'm really impressed. I will plan on switching to the dime. So that's what I would do. Now, if you do cut a little piece inside here, then I get like a permanent type glue, unless it's going to be a wall hanging. Then if you want to use your Elmer School glue, you can. Or you can also, inside here, you could actually, excuse me, do some of your free motion quilting, like I would say probably pebbles, and just make sure you pebble over it really well. And then it doesn't go anywhere. The very first time I tried, and this is called the TempLee method that I'm doing. See, there's my reveal right there. The first time I did it, I actually cut mine in several places. And this has been a few years ago. But so it got a little extra free motion quilting inside there. And whenever I take it to shows or to Quilt Guild or something like that, I always show that piece because, even if you do accidentally cut into the wrong place, all you have to do is, just push your fabric back down and in place and then stitch over it. Nothing's really a mistake when it comes
Make
to
it look like it was meant to be.
exactly, because
Mhm.
most of the time, think about it. When you give your quilts away as gifts, you give them to people who don't quilt. They don't know you've made a mistake. They just look at it and think, oh, wow, I got a really cool gift. This is great.
So someone was asking if we're going to give them pictures of each of the final blocks. And we do have, obviously, a picture of the final quilt, but I can definitely follow up for all the signups and email that has a picture of each of the final blocks separately so you can really see them well.
Yeah, that's a great idea, Stacy. I would think when we, with each one of these, maybe give a close up of each of the blocks that we're featuring. I think that'd be a great idea. And Stacy, So Steady already has them, but if you need some better ones, let me know. I'll make sure that I get those. Okay, so let's do our recap that we were talking about.
Oh, can I give something away first?
Oh, yes, please.
So, earlier I got all kinds of confused and I was giving away our Echo guides with our So Creative pen. So I am going to actually change that and you're going to get the stitching line discs with the So Creative pen. And then we're going to do there you go. So you'll get the stitching line disc with the So Creative pen. And then our final giveaway, because I got everybody excited about Echo Guides, I will go ahead and do the Echo Guides separately. And again, those are something you can put on your ruler feet and you can enlarge designs and make them smaller. But the stitching line disc we'll do with the So Creative pen and the ruler stickers.
Yeah.
And then the Echo Guides will be our final giveaway. And that's something you can attach to your ruler foot and make bigger and smaller designs.
You sure
There
can.
they are. Okay, so that'll be our final giveaway is going to be the Echo Guides. The stitching line disc will go with giveaway number 2. And so now, yes, let's do the full recap. And then at the very end, we can kind of show the 2 pictures again for each of the designs that they're going to be doing today.
Okay, I'll show a recap with the quilt blocks in front of me, and then I'll walk back over to the quilt and show them.
Yes.
And really, I'll have the camera in my hand, so I can go over all of them in great detail. And I think that would really help everybody out if I can do that. So I tell you what, let me just pull this out of here, and that way I can get right on top of it.
And then on the winners of the giveaway, as you're moving, I'm going to go ahead and just move over to the Echo Guides. The winners we're going to be emailing, so everyone will find out who the winners are via email in the next day or two. Actually,
Okay,
probably
perfect.
on Monday.
Mm-hmm. Okay, this is Orbit, and here's the recap on it. This is the, where is it? 6-inch arc. I used that to make those flowers. And then I did a pebbles in here in the center. And then we had the, sorry, my rulers are buried. Let me see if I can get those. Here we go. I used this ruler for the flower, and I used the larger end of it. So remember that. It's the it's going to be a 2.5 inch. And notice it looks like it's off center in here, but remember that's because this is actually going to be covered up. This is going to be cut away. And once this block is completely finished, what I'll do is grab my big ruler again. I love this ruler. It's my go-to. Get everything out from under here. Yep, we accumulate stuff. Okay, and then I would put this down on top. I would line everything right back up. And I've got little lines in here that I can line up with. Now I'm looking, there's one right there, there's one. Okay, and then I would center this, and I would be on my cutting mat. And I would hold my ruler in place, and I would cut around the edges. And that way I would be perfectly centered in there, and it's going to just be a really nice, a nice completed block. So that's
And
how
then which size of the Spinifex flower did you do in the corners?
I did.
There's
The
2 sizes.
2.5 inch. Yes, there are two sizes. And so I want to be sure and point out, use the 2.5 inch one, the bigger one. It's going to make a larger flower.
For people that already bought the template set, because some people or already had some of the templates in the set, the templates in the set again are the Spinifex number 4, the mini Spinifex number 4.
Yes.
And then the is it the 6-inch arc ruler?
6-inch arc.
Okay. And then the between the lines 1/2 inch.
Yes.
And then what size of straight ruler?
It is a 2.5 by 8 inch straight ruler.
And then
Perfect size to work with. And then you've got the 2-piece continuous heart border.
perfect.
And it is, just a second, I can tell you, it is 3 by 1.5 inches. And the other one that's connected to it is 2 inch by 1 inch.
Perfect.
Okay, so I'll move these out of the way, and I'll move this block over. Okay, this is Mandala Eclipse. These will be my cutaways, and I like the fabric, the cutaway, the reveal, but not as much as I love the other one. So when you're picking your reveal fabrics, look for something that's just really pleasing to your eye and that goes well with whatever you're working with. So this will be cut away, all of these, and this will be cut away, and the only free motion that I did is just a little stippling out here. I don't have any pebbles or anything like that. And I use really simple free motion quilting because, you know, your blocks are beautiful on their own. This could be, you know, if you took this out, this could be a block on a quilt easily without doing anything else to it. But you know me, I've got to carry it a step further. And so I've embellished it just a little bit. So Mandala Eclipse, Orbit. And to me, this is what made this Orbit. Okay, now I'm going to walk over to the quilt itself, and we'll talk about it a little bit. And I'll give you really close-ups of each one of the blocks. So use my room. It's kind of messy. Remember, well, I just covered it up. I work in this room, so it does get messy. Okay, this is Supernova. This is one of the ones we'll be working on pretty soon. And this is my border out here. And it's just, that continuous heart border. And my decoration out here was I used paisleys and pebbles. Okay, here we go with Orbit. You saw that one a few minutes ago. Well, here it is completely finished. Starry Nights. It just has 9 flowers in it and then a little bit of a design on the outside, which we'll go into when we get to that block. Here is Mandala Eclipse completed. Okay, here is Milky Way, and that's just the flower and the heart border, and then I used my straight line ruler. Here is Neptune Nights. These are really simple. And there's an added tool when we get to Neptune Nights. It is the outer rim tool, and I'll show you how to use it. I don't use it in the way that it was originally intended. So I will show you how I do that. Okay, and then the next one we have is Blast Off. To me, this looked like a runway. And so it's just, I had fun and just played with these. And I would love for you, as you're doing this, to come up with some of your own designs and your own embellishments and show us what you're doing. This is Butterfly Moon. This is Space Station. To me, this kind of reminded me of watching Star Wars movies, and remember those awesome looking space stations they had. Well, this is my take on that.
Someone asked a question as we're kind of
Sure.
looking at the quilt here. They said the fabric required, does the yardage include the sashing, and are you going to show how to finish it?
Yeah, we can show how to finish it. That may take one more class, but yeah, we can do that. We'll see what we can work out on that. Okay, and also too, use the quilt as you go method. And I know there are a lot of quilt as you go classes out there, and there may even be some free ones. I'm not really sure, but if we can work it in, and when we get enough of the blocks made, I'll show you how I put them together. And then the border was actually on your own, but you're going to know how to do that border before we ever get to it, because it's right down here in Milky Way. So you're going to be doing that border. You're just not going to be making as much of it, but we'll talk about that as we go. Of course, Flowers in Orbit. The next one is Galaxy. And then the next one is Spin Out. And kind of, I know we've talked a little bit about how this quilt actually came about, but I love to put my free motion quilting and my ruler work together. But I also love the TempLee method where you actually do some cutaway. And so I think the first the first one that came about in the series was this one right here. And it was a spin-off of this block right here, which is called Flower Power, and this is in Annie's sampler. Well, I wanted to do something and do the cutaway. So this is how this one came about, and it's almost identical with the exception of I wanted more reveal. So right here, instead of putting circles, and I'll tell you a little secret, circles, the little 1/2 inch circles, are hard to do a reveal on. I've got one in here where I did a couple of reveals and quickly decided that the 1/2 inch is not really worth a reveal. Number one, it reveals such a tiny little area that you can't really tell it. And number two, you have to have a really tiny pair of scissors to do it. So that's why I chose to do these instead. And then when I laid it out and looked at it, I said, wow, that looks kind of like something spinning off into orbit. So hope you like the quilt. I hope you have fun with it. And I'm looking forward to each month when we have our sessions and I get to teach you a little bit more about what I do. Do we have any more questions?
You know, I've just been answering a lot of the questions along the way.
Mm-hmm.
if people do have additional questions as they're kind of getting into this class, would you recommend that they go ahead and post those questions on the YouTube page?
That would be super, and I will do my best to get in there and look at the questions and answer them as best I can. We love to see your questions and comments. We're always, if we can see them, we're happy to answer them and visit with you a little bit about it.
Yeah, so because all of the questions that were asked today are part of the chat, that chat will go ahead and show up on the recorded class on YouTube once we obviously finalize the live here. And then you'll be able to go ahead and view the chat as well as start making ask questions and comments in the YouTube comment section as well. So that'll be where Anne will be able to kind of, get in there every now and then and be able to answer questions and respond to any inquiries. So as I mentioned, I will go ahead and email out the official winners here probably early next week since it's Friday. And then be looking for the series sign up. There were a few people that said that they already bought most of the classes. Give us a call and we'll see what we can do to take care of you on that, since we wanted to go ahead and give a discount if you were going to buy into the full series. So we'll take care of you if you bought into all the classes already individually. And then be looking for the opportunity to buy into the full series. If you liked this, then I guarantee you're going to love the 5 remaining classes and possibly 6 remaining classes, right, Anne?
Right.
To be able to learn how to do the sashing and all that jazz. So we'll look forward to that. And how do you access the YouTube page? Well, you're going to use the same link you used today. So as soon as we hit the end broadcast on the live, the recorded will be in the same exact location. So you'll just use that same link, but we'll send out the reminder link via email here as well. So, and again, we announced at the very beginning, the great news is we're going to make this class available to you through July. So you're going to be able to continue to watch and rewatch and, just keep pausing and moving forward and be able to create all these awesome designs that Anne's showing you. So we're looking forward to having you join us on the next classes. And Anne, you did a wonderful job. Everybody is saying how much they appreciated it and how much they enjoy listening to you. And of course, that your voice is just so soothing.
Well, good.
Oh. So we'll be emailing out the information for joining the full series and the winners. And again, thank you for joining through one of our amazing participating stores. We appreciate all of them bringing this class to you. And we'll look forward to sharing more of that with you here in the near future. Thanks, everybody. We'll look forward to it. Oh, you know what? Someone did ask a question that you might answer real quick. How wide is the border? Did you already answer that?
I did not answer that. I think it's about 4 inches wide.
4 inches wide.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great.
And so.
All right. Well, thanks again, everyone. Have a wonderful day and wonderful weekend.
All right.